Welcome to This Week in Tiger Athletics. I'm your host, Andrew McGinnis, filling in for Haley White. And this week we have special guest Brett Meyer in the studio with us. Brett Meyer is a senior from Scott City. He finished fourth at the Drake Relays Elite Meet last week with a time of 4:07:44. He was the only collegiate runner to compete in the event. So first off, congrats, Brett, on a fabulous weekend in Des Moines, Iowa. What are your thoughts when you get noticed you were invited to compete in the elite division? What were your thoughts on that?
It was pretty exciting. My coach told me just a week before and just said, hey, we got into the mile and you're the only collegiate. And it's just, there wasn't very much pressure on it. You just got to go out there and have fun. And it was a crazy opportunity to compete against those professional runners. And I was just a young kid racing against them and just looking up to some of those athletes. So it was an unreal experience, and I'm very grateful to be able to run that race.
So were there any nerves kind of going into that when you found out that you were going to compete against those? You kind of said that you didn't have a lot of pressure, but were there any nerves underneath?
Oh yeah, there was nerves. Just walking around, seeing all the professionals do their their warm-ups. I wanted to do everything they were doing because I didn't know what to expect at this stage. So yeah, there was a lot of nerves just hours before. Days before, I wasn't very nervous. I was excited, but yeah, extremely nervous like 2 hours before when I was like in the gym running with those professionals.
So about after the first lap, you were kind of mid-pack. So what was going through your mind kind of at that point as you get through that first lap?
After that first lap, I just, my coach told me to keep moving up, stay in good position. And there was pros that were trying to pass me like at 800 meters. So I just had to keep on getting up there with them, stay in a good position. I know it was horrible weather, but I just had to stay motivated and get around those guys after that first lap.
So that's actually kind of leads me into my next question. So the conditions on Saturday were kind of tough. They were kind of cold and wet and windy. So how did you deal with that?
Being from Western Kansas, I'm used to it. The pros before the race and after the race were complaining the whole time, which kind of got me excited because I knew I had the advantage being from Western Kansas where there's wind, snow, and rain in the springtime. So I was kind of excited that they were kind of being babies about it. So I had that advantage, but it was tough for sure for all of us, but it was fun.
So something that we've seen in the past from you is a sub 4-minute mile. Which is kind of an incredible thing to get through. But there were 8 of those kind of runners in this race. So was it an honor kind of to be racing against so many talented racers?
Yes, it was. Seeing names that I looked up to that were in that race with me was a special honor, and it was unreal that they had my name up there. Brett Meyer at 3:59 mile was right alongside those guys, which was kind of unbelievable for me. I was like, wow, I could compete with these guys. But yeah, having 8 guys under 4 minutes in one race was something special.
So when you think of that kind of like elite division at Drake, several runners actually go on to compete at the Olympics, which is kind of crazy to think about. So when you sat back and realized that, what comes to your mind?
I'm still young right now, but a lot does come to my mind. I just know that I have to be patient and a lot of hard work. I can be at that level with those guys, and I just need to get in more races like that and just put myself out there.
So we're coming up on, this is your senior year, obviously, so you're coming close to graduation. So thinking on the future and what you hold, you had said that you wanted to race in the future after graduation. So does that still hold true today? Is that still something that kind of floats around in your mind? Yes,
I'm going to keep going after it after Nationals this year. I have a race actually the week after, which is the same race I broke 4 in last year. So that's exciting. I'll try and get in a few more races after this season at the professional level. And hopefully I'll get my time down so I could compete at the USA Championships. But yeah, that's the goal right now, to keep competing next year and still compete under my coach, Coach McCullough.
So like you had said that you cracked that 4-minute mile. So you did that last summer in St. Louis, and you're one of only a few Fort Hays runners to do that in their lifetimes. So how exciting is that, like to be from Scott City and you didn't have a ton of college looks to be able to do that and to kind of move forward from that?
Yeah, it's something special. I never thought I could be able to do that until it was around my junior year. I wrote down on a piece of paper that was my biggest running goal, was to break 4 minutes in the mile. And it's just unreal to actually get that done and have that pressure off your back, because that's what I wanted like my whole life as a runner. And yeah, it's something special to just be from a small town and do something that only 500 Americans have ever done. So yeah, it's something else, and one of my best accomplishments, I guess.
That's crazy, man. So you've won multiple mid-distance events, you've won cross-country races, and are multiple-time All-American at the D2 level. What keeps you what keeps you motivated to get better every year?
Just getting in those races. This year has been a good year if you look on the outside, but for me, I've had a lot of pressure, and pressure coming into those races that I have to break 4 every time. And when I don't achieve my goals, really gives me motivation to keep competing, keep racing, and just keep working harder, doing stuff different, running more miles. Yeah, just a lot of things play into staying motivated throughout the year.
Makes sense, man. So have you seen yourself grow on and off the track in the last 4 years at 4 days?
Yes, extremely. I was a really immature runner as a freshman and didn't know what I was doing, and cross country and track has taught me so many life lessons other than the sport itself. So yeah, it's just a lot that comes to it, a lot of hard work, and 2 times a day running will teach you a lot of stuff. So
right, makes sense. Entering the MIAA this weekend in Warrensburg, Missouri, you have the top 1,500 meter time in the conference. What would it mean to win that race this weekend?
I'm excited for that race. I'm just looking forward to competing and hopefully winning that race. It probably will come down to a sit and kick race, and that's not very fun for people to watch. But I don't know, I'll have to think about some things with my coach and talk about some things, because I might have to go make it a fun race and go out real fast, and maybe I can set a PR before I can go to nationals. So.
Which you talked about that, that sit and kick race,
yep.
or something like that, which has kind of been your style. I mean, when I've watched you in the past, you kind of sit mid pack for a lot of the races, and that third after like the last lap, and then maybe the half of the second to last lap, you kind of kick it in, you pass, which I find very enjoyable to watch. I don't know if anybody else does, but you're one of the only 4 Division II runners to hit an automatic qualifying mark in the 1,500 so far this spring. Are you excited about what the D2 National meet in Texas will bring this year?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. I've hit the times and set my ticket to nationals, and it's anyone's race when it comes down to the championship style races. Everyone's going to be going out slow and waiting till that last kick. So I'm excited, because it's my senior year and it'll be my last year competing as a Tiger. So yeah, I'm super thrilled to be there, and hopefully I'll achieve something great.
So you were a decorated athlete as well in high school, who could do multiple things, but did you expect to be able to have the success you're having at Fort Hays on the track?
I never really did. I came here just basically for a girl and just to have fun running track, and I thought I was an 800 runner and occasional 4x4 guy, but I never really expected to be where I'm at, and I'm grateful to have awesome coaches, friends, and family that have pushed me to be at this level.
So now that you're kind of at that level, do you feel like there's kind of a target on your back when you're racing?
Yes, this year, like I said earlier, it's been a big year of just pressure. Every time I step on the track, people are expecting me to go sub-4 or break John Mason's records, which are unreal records and have been standing for a long time. So yeah, there's just a lot of pressure to it. Once you achieve that barrier, that sub-4 barrier, that people are expecting you to show out every single race, and it's really tiring, but like that, it motivates me as well.
So how has the track program at FHSU and the university in general prepared you for your future?
It's prepared me a lot. Coming in my freshman year, I didn't even know what nationals was, and all we were looking forward to was conference. And now that I'm a senior, the team has improved so much. We've gotten great athletes, and just surrounding yourself with people that have high goals just like you have prepared me so much for the future. If it was for my job in the future or professional running, just the people I'm around help me so much, and just the same as school as well.
That's awesome, man. So what does success look like in your eyes on the track, on the track, or in the classroom, or just in life in general? What does that look like?
Oh, that's a hard question. But success, what it looks like for me is just giving it your all in that race, if it's in your classroom, school, your job. Success just comes from just giving it your all, competing your best, and knowing at the end of the day that you've done the work and you've competed to the highest potential that you could.
That's awesome, man. So what does the future look like for Brett Meyer?
The future, I'll be around Hayes for 2 more years. I'll be a GA for the cross country and track team, so I'll do that and get my master's, but continuing to run and hopefully get a professional contract maybe down the road. If I still have to get faster, but that's in the hindsight, I guess.
That's awesome, man. Anything personal life that's coming up that's pretty big?
Yeah, this summer I will be getting married to my high school sweetheart, so that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to that. I know it's going to take some time out of my day of my training career, but that's fine. I'm super pumped for that, and I'm excited.
That's exciting, man. Well, congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
I'm sure that we'll be keeping up with you as you compete here this weekend, and then at Nationals after that,
Yep.
man. That's pretty exciting.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today. When we come back, we'll be talking to Ryan Prickett, the FHSU Sports Information Director, on all the other sports going around at Fort Hays State.
He often climbs to the 3rd floor of Rarick without taking a second breath. No matter when he submits his assignment to Blackboard, it is considered early, even if it is 5 days late. The line at Starbucks parts when he arrives. He considers the homecoming bonfire a small flame for s'mores. Every time he walks downtown, it's considered a march to Maine. His doodles on scrap paper are framed and hung in Rarick Hall. Once he parked in a 30-minute zone overnight, and the campus police left him a thank you note and a gift card.
I don't always party, but when I do, I register with SGA. Now party responsibly, my friends.
Welcome back to This Week in Tiger Athletics. I'm your host, Andrew McGinnis, filling in for Haley White, and we are joined here by FHSU Sports Information Director Ryan Prickett. So you kind of talked about last week the scenarios that softball needed to get to the MIAA tourney. Did they do what they needed to do? I mean, I heard that they swept on Saturday and beat Kearney, but it still didn't end up for them.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate deal. You know, I think we played about the best softball we've played all year on Saturday in those must-win games to potentially get into the MIAA tournament. It was just a matter of other things around the conference that we couldn't control sealed our fate, unfortunately. And what had basically happened was we had won our first game of the day, 9-1. Just got done, and we'd been keeping an eye on scores around the conference. Now, Northeastern State and Missouri Southern were playing each other. In that scenario, we just needed Northeastern State to lose one of the games to Missouri Southern. Missouri Southern had a lead late in game one while we were playing our first game, like at the start of our first game, and they collapsed and Northeastern won that game. So we're like, okay, well, maybe Missouri Southern can get game two. And again, they had a lead late in that one, and once again gave it away right at the end. And so it's just like, geez, you can't get any help there. And then on top of that, while that second result happened, it was no more than probably about 5 minutes difference Pittsburgh State goes and knocks off the #1 team in the nation, Central Oklahoma, which we actually did as well. We beat Central Oklahoma at home earlier in the year, but I don't think anybody was really banking on that to happen as well. And so by them at least just winning one game against Central Oklahoma, that kept them ahead of us in the standings. So what wound up happening was a 4-way tie for 5th place. So the last 4 spots of the 8-team MIAA tournament all ended in a tie at 14-12, and we were 13-13. So basically it was just a 1-win difference in the conference standings. We knew what we had to do going into the day. We were 11-13 going into the day. We knew we had to sweep Kearney to jump them in the standings and then hope that we got that help to at least get into like a tiebreak. And what was really going to help us in that scenario was Central Oklahoma, by beating them earlier in the year. Some of these tiebreaks come down to, okay, well, what's your head-to-head against those teams? Mm-hmm. Well, Pittsburgh State and Northeastern State we both split with. So then they go to the second tie-breaking criteria is, okay, how did you do against the highest ranked team in the MIAA? Well, neither of those teams had a win at that point over over Central Oklahoma. So we thought, you know, well, we will have the tiebreak on either of those teams as long as Central Oklahoma does what they're supposed to do, and unfortunately they didn't. So
it's like
so we were relying on #1 in the nation to help us.
Right, which you usually can.
Yeah,
usually can. But
you got a team that's, what are they now? They're going into the MIAA tournament. They're 41-5. So you figure, like, yeah, you think that team, but nope, one of those 5 happened to be Saturday when we didn't need them to lose. So.
Right at the end where we could get in, but yeah. That's
so anyway, yeah, I mean, and so softball, to kind of sum up the season, I guess, you know, they finish at 24-25. It was definitely an improvement from last year. The ladies did a good job this year at getting better. We were still a young squad. No seniors on this squad. Saturday was kind of an odd day at the park as far as, like, for me at least, because usually we have a senior day on our final home games, and there were no seniors to recognize. So we do have a nice big crop of juniors that will be seniors next year. And also a big load of sophomores on the roster as well. So we had a few freshmen that were contributing this year. So it was good to see them take that big step from, you know, they had struggles last year of being a very young squad, but give them that 1 extra year of experience. And we saw some strides and improvement. The pitching was much better this year as far as from a whole team standpoint. And so things just got a lot better, and we finished right around the 500 mark. And hopefully next year we'll take that bigger leap and be in the MIAA tournament for one, but hopefully look forward to a winning record next year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we just got done talking to Brett Meyer earlier. The MIAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships are this weekend in Warrensburg, Missouri, and several competitors who have solid chances of bringing home the gold this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great weekend for Fort Hays State Track and Field. This is what you've been building up to all year long. We've seen some guys trying to gain national provisional marks, be in that top 15 in the country is kind of like what I use as the gold standard. That's where you want to be if you want a chance to compete at the NCAA championships at the end of the year. And we have a few guys that are in that mix right now, Brett included. He's automatically basically locked into his position at going to the NCAA championships. But we have a few other guys that have some provisional marks, even some ladies as well. Alexia Deitcher, she's kind of carried the torch forward here with the javelin throwing. We've had some really solid women's javelin throwers here throughout, basically like the better part of this last decade. And a lot of All-America honors to come from there. And she's among the top 10 in the country in her event. So we look forward to this weekend, as this is kind of where Coach McCullough wants his athletes peaking at the right time. This is for conference honors. You want to try and be one of the top 3 in the conference to get all MIAA honors, to get on that podium at the conference meet. And ultimately, hopefully, you know, with the higher level of competition at the MIAA championships, sometimes that pushes our athletes that are on that cusp of trying to get in the NCAA championships to elevate their performances and get in that top 15 in the country and have a shot at getting selected for the NCAA championships, which are coming up here in just a few weeks towards the end of May. So
right. It's honestly kind of crazy. You know, you had mentioned Alexia and then you mentioned Brett, two people that kind of stand out, both from tiny towns in Kansas, because I watched Alexia when I was in high school throw javelin at Ellis. So she did stuff for Ellis, and then Brett coming from Scott City. It's kind of crazy to see how they're top in the nation now. But
cool stuff.
So moving on, we have baseball finished the season with a 3-game homestand starting Friday at Pitt State. The Gorillas have clinched an MIAA tourney spot, but it would be nice to see Fort Hays kind of get a victory at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough go for baseball this year. Obviously, it's a rebuild season, or we're trying to figure out, you know, where the program's going to go under first-year head coach Jared Goodale. They are on a long losing streak right now. They're trying to snap that. It's been hard to get some wins this year, but we've seen good signs. It's not like we've been totally blown out in every game that we've played. We've been in some contests that have been 1-run, 2-run games that it's just something will happen late where that other team will get away from us because our bullpen just isn't quite at that level that we need them to be right now. We've had some good starting pitching efforts from several of our kids. It's just sometimes we cannot finish that at the end of the game because we can't expect some of those guys to throw all 9 innings or else they're going to throw their arm off, basically. So to prevent injury and stuff like that, sometimes that's what happens. But the hitting has, you know, we've needed a little more timely hitting here and there. But this weekend will be interesting because Pittsburgh State, their head coach now is one of our former head coaches, Bob Fernelli, who actually was Jared Goodale's head coach back when Jared was playing. So it's kind of like, you know, a family reunion type thing this weekend with Bob coming back to town. But Bob did a tremendous job elevating our program here in the early 2000s, took us to the national title game. Unfortunately, we were national runner-up back in 2000, but Bob had a heck of a run here at Fort Hays State. Then he moved on to Emporia State after here, but that was when we were still part of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. Okay. And so we didn't really have the foresight of, we're going to have to go, you know, face our old baseball coach back when he made that move back in 2003. But then we eventually came over to the MIAA in 2006 and 7, and then we had to face our old coach. But now he's jumped over to Pittsburgh State. He's taken a new opportunity, and they got some good things going forward for the program there at Pittsburgh right now. So, you know, he decided, why not? I'll go take a stab at that position now too. So Bob has coached almost all MIAA Division II schools in Kansas, other than Washburn, which I don't know if he ever will because Emporia State's his alma mater. So and they're bitter rivals. So I don't know if he could ever swallow that pill and coach Washburn. But anyway, it'll be an interesting weekend this weekend to, you know, when Bob gets back to town here. You know, probably drum up old stories. You know, Jared playing for him back in the early 2000s as well. So it'll be a cool weekend here at Larks Park.
So you had kind of talked about the relief pitching, and you know, it's disappointing to say the least because it seems like we kind of see that as an ongoing thing around Kansas or around the Kansas area. Because being a Royals fan, you kind of get a glimpse of that as well, and it's not fun because you get really excited for the first 6 innings, and then it kind of goes down.
Yeah, the Royals they've unfortunately had a little bit of a rough go here early in the season. Who knows if they'll get that figured out? Yeah. But yeah, I think we all know what that's like after seeing how the Royals have done early in the season. So.
Alrighty, and finally, senior Hannah Perkins was selected to play in her 3rd straight NCAA D2 Central Regional next weekend in Oklahoma. She's had another solid season for the Tigers and will need to finish in the top 4 regionals to make the national championship. Yeah,
you know, she's got a good shot at doing that. Hannah's been one of the top individuals here in the region for the last 3 years. There 2 years ago as a sophomore, she did, you know, qualify individually for the NCAA championships. And, you know, she can have a run of where she can, you know, get on a tear, go low on the scoreboard, and, you know, all of a sudden, you know, find herself in a good situation. She's an all MIAA, you know, caliber player. She was all MIAA performer this year, has a stroke average of about 77. So if she can have a week where she goes low and gets inside of that consistently, I think she has a great shot at getting to the NCAA championships again. So we're hoping good things for her. We know she had a little bit of a rough week this last week at the MIAA championships, but golf's a funny sport like that. There are days, you'll have maybe 2 or 3 weeks where you're on fire and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, golf's the best thing, ever. You get out there and play and everything's going right, and then all of a sudden you wake up a day or two later, and all of a sudden you're spraying shots right and left, and you're like, what the heck happened? Like, what's different? And so golf is such a mental game sometimes. Right. You got to remember your swing path, your swing plane. Everything has to be consistent. And that one day where it's that little millimeter off or something like that, where it just makes that ball go right or left, or just not where you want it to go type thing. Or maybe your putting game's just not doing very well on a given day. Some days people score well, they're hitting putts from all over the place, and then next day they're 3-putting 2 or 3 greens. So I mean, you just don't know how that's going to go, and so golf's such a fickle deal. And we just hope for Hannah's sake that this is her senior year, this is kind of her last hurrah, and she's represented our program really, really well. And I'm hoping big things for her this coming tournament at the regional, especially after having a little bit of a downturn there at the MIAA championships after having a great season all the way up to that point. So if she bounces back like I expect she will, she'll have a good tournament down there in Oklahoma.
That is awesome. Well, there's some pretty exciting things going on this week in Fort Hays Athletics. Thank you for joining us on This Week in Tiger Athletics, and tune in next week to find out what else is going on and kind of get an update on these stories right here.